I am very easy to bully.
Yeah,
It's one of our favorite things
really
about
good.
you.
I just can't remember what it was.
My nickname in high school, and this is not a nickname, this is just people bullying me, was the Geico Caveman. Because I have low set eyebrows and I look like a Neanderthal.
No. I could no.
Yeah, you can.
I could see.
All right. Are we ready to get ourselves started?
I think you can start us. I think that's cold enough.
All right. This week on Overthinking Games, I'm joined by the Geico Caveman and a bigot.
What up?
And we
Wow.
This is Overthinking Games, a podcast about what games can teach us. I'm Seth. I'm an East Coast emergent educator. I'm going to be leading our discussion today. I'm also joined by the Geico Caveman.
I would like to know that is, I shared that vulnerability. We got to work on our we got to have less mean cold opens going forwards.
And I'm also joined by the bigot.
Wow, you make one joke about a certain religious sect and it just makes you a bigot. Okay.
To be fair, it's the religious sect Katie grew up around and then she was making fun of it, which is, better.
True.
So it's okay. This week we're going to be talking about some more horror stuff. The thought process in one of my favorite genres is existential/cosmic horror. I grew up reading a lot of Lovecraft, and he's a problematic guy for reasons that we may or may not get to today. But he wrote some great stuff, influenced some of my favorite games between like Darkest Dungeon and arguably things like Bloodborne and Elden Ring. So lots to talk about there. First things first, though. As always, a little discussion about what we've been playing. Now, it's been 2 or 3 weeks since we last recorded.
A long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we've had time to play games or not play games in Dempsey's case. So, Dempsey, why don't you get us started then? What have you been or not been playing?
Up to.
So, I have not played any games. I also want to say that this has been a couple weeks since we recorded. I had such a crisp and clean plan on how we can like have spooky content for spooky seasons. Currently there was supposed to be a podcast released on Saturday. It is not. It was. I did not get time to edit it because I was out of town. So we're a week behind. Anyways, so that's the true horror is logistical management of a collaborative creative project. That is what I have been playing. Very horrifying.
Based.
Very good.
Katie, what have you been playing?
I've been playing, let's see. I've been playing Hellblade still. I think I was talking about that last time that we recorded. But I'm much further into it now. And it is amazing. As a story, I would say as an actual game, it's I would say as a game, it's like 5 out of 10, but as a story, it's definitely 10 out of 10. So let me explain what it is for those of those who don't know. It is a third-person sort of fighting puzzle game, like God of War kind of style combat, I think, where you are a Viking or Celtic warrior lady who suffers, or not, I don't want to say suffers, but has like struggles with psychosis. And so you are playing the game with all of her voices in her head. And if you play it with headphones, it's not mono, it's
stereo.
Like
Stereo,
surround
thank you.
sound.
It's like stereo.
It's like stereo, so you can hear like the voices on either side. And there are times where the sound design on this is so incredible that you'll hear like they use a lot of rain and sunshine to kind of communicate where Senua is and her mental health as you go through this journey. And there are times that like you hear thunder coming off from the distance and it literally doesn't sound like it's in your headphone. It sounds like it's out in the real world, coming towards you. Or there were times where the voices are like on every side of you telling you to run, run, run. And you can hear something coming right behind you and it feels like it's breathing on the back of your neck. And then you turn around and there's nothing there. It's really incredibly well designed sound wise. The puzzles are mostly mazes, which is my worst thing. I'm really bad at anything that requires like spatial awareness or directions. So I've spent a lot of time wandering, and then finally looking it up and having like the Help I'm Stuck video walk me through it. But it's been a really interesting experience. I would recommend it if you guys haven't played it. That's mostly what I've been playing. And then I'm not playing that when I'm too tired to have to think that hard. I've been playing Slay the Spire. I learned how to put mods on it. And I've been playing with a new character called the Packmaster, who I just started, so I don't really know what he's about yet, but it's pretty cool. So, what have you been playing, Seth?
I'm glad you asked. I've had a good chunk of time to play stuff. So what have I been playing? I played more Luck to Be a Landlord on my phone. I mentioned that, I think, the last few recording sessions. Dempsey's being weird, for the record. What else have I been playing? I've been still frustrated with Baldur's Gate. So
Bad take.
Well,
Actually, I was frustrated with Baldur's Gate 2 as well.
Two bad takes.
I'm not saying it's bad. It's good. The problem is I'm stuck in the goblin camp and I don't know what to do other than beat up goblins, and it's frustrating.
You need to talk to the lady.
What? Who are you talking about?
Did you talk to the goblin in the jail?
I literally don't know who you're talking about.
You need to talk to. Oh my goodness! You have to talk to the goblin in jail in the grove or the forest or whatever the fuck, and then it'll lead you to something.
I'm in the. There's this druid. I found the druid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then he's
okay.
He's like, I need you to beat up all these goblins, and I'm like, okay.
So you're just not doing it good?
I guess.
Yeah, sounds like a skill issue.
Sounds like a
it's
operator
like
error.
listen. I complained about this last time we did the podcast. For whatever fucking reason, they don't auto save before combat. So,
but you know this, so save beforehand, dude.
Yeah, I know.
Seth just threw a fit like a child.
It's 2023. Just auto save. It's not that complicated. And it would severely make me want to play your game more if you just auto-saved at the start of combat.
Hang on now. It's 2023, and I still have to open my umbrella when I go outside or I get rained on.
Yes. Correct.
What is this?
100% what I'm saying.
So I will say that is a challenging fight. Totally doable.
Yeah, you just have to, because there's 3 different people, and then you just have to fight them one by one. But then the goblins go hit the drum, and then instead of fighting 5 goblins, I'm fighting 15, and then you lose that every time.
Do you know that drum is breakable?
God damn it!
You can send an arrow at it. It has 4 hit points or less.
Do you know what I think is happening here? Dempsey is just reveling in the fact that he's better at a game than Seth is.
That's not impressive. There are a lot of games I'm shit at.
And then Seth can't even let him have this victory. He has to denigrate it. Wow.
God, this wants me to. I would rather be playing Baldur's Gate now. Having mentioned the name Baldur's Gate, I'm like, man, I should just say I'm sick. I'm sorry, I have nausea. I want to, because I just got to Act 3. So before I took off for my work trip, I spent embarrassing, I would have to get up for work in 4 hours. And anyways, but I made it to Act 3, and it's so fucking good. It's actually so good that it made a few of my friends want to come over and play actual D&D, is how that worked.
Wow.
Oh, that's what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, and I have a very good friend who, her and her husband, but mostly her, are pregnant. And so I think she's interested in she's a stunt performer. She's a stunt performer coordinator. And I think she wants a little bit of a activity that's not so strenuous for a couple months.
Fair
enough.
So
mostly
anyways,
her.
D&D is fun.
Yeah.
It is fun.
Hot take.
You should try Blades in the Dark. I really like the dice system on that game. It's really fun.
Blades in the Dark is pretty sick. Otherwise, I don't have too much else to mention. I played a little bit of the Space Marine game because now Space Marine 2 is on its way out, and I'm excited for that.
Did you play Mr. Pinocchio Man?
No, I've not played
like...
Lies of P yet.
Okay. It seems like that would be you would be the specific demographic for that.
You are 100% correct. I'm just not in the mood to drop $70 on a game right now.
Mm-hmm. After having just done that with Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, I still have to beat Baldur's Gate.
Armored Core or whatever.
Yeah, and Armored Core, because I haven't finished either of them yet. And it's literally on my like to-do list is like beat Armored Core, beat Baldur's Gate. Like grade all the papers that you're like 3 weeks late on. So, priorities and stuff.
I know. That's how I feel about my IEP stuff. I'm like, oh crap. I need to do that like yesterday.
Yeah, I'm legally required to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's about it. I don't have too much else to mention on the games front.
We've played a surprisingly little amount of games for not having recorded for so long, but I think we haven't recorded for so long because we've been actually doing things in our real lives.
Yeah, we've each had to cancel. I am not the only one who's had to cancel. Each one of us at different points have had to cancel. I love
how defensive you are because I was feeling really bad about the fact that I had to cancel. Seth didn't care that he had to cancel. That's my guess.
I was telling you, we should have done like 1 week where there's no Dempsey, and then 1 week where there's no Katie, and then 1 week where there's no me, and then it would have been fine.
We already did 1 week where there was no you.
Yeah, we did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like there was a week where there was no me, and then like we could have done a week without Dempsey. And then...
But I mean, you have to have the right ingredients, and it's definitely me and definitely Dempsey. So.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I also don't know.
The assumption that means that like I'm just not an important part of this podcast.
No, I'm just kidding. No, you are. You are vital. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
Vital.
No, without the three of us, there's no trifecta, and with no trifecta, there's no secret special sauce.
Well, like a two-person podcast. We're talking existential and cosmic horror.
Okay.
This is a podcast about video games.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're only like 15 minutes in. Usually the whole like talk about game stuff takes us to like minute 25. So
yeah,
this is very true.
None of us played anything.
Yeah, we haven't done anything.
We got to talk about podcast dynamics.
True. All right, so the sort of framework topic I wanted to talk about today, and I don't have too much really on the noggin. I just figured we would talk about stuff is existential and cosmic horror, just to establish what those things are. So, existential horror sort of is in the realm of games like there's a game called like Universal Paperclip Generator or something. I forget the exact name of that game. But even like Dempsey, one of Dempsey's favorite games is like Outer Wilds. Sort of these games that put you in the frame of reference of being really small in a universe that's very, very large, and the sort of insignificance of that. Where it's still horror, but it's not like in your face jump scares, or it's not like environmental horror where, maybe like the setting or something is just kind of creepy. Instead, it's more of the realization. It's like psychological in a sense. Cosmic horror falls a little bit more into the tradition of writers like H.P. Lovecraft, who usually they run the existential thing, but they do it in more of like a sci-fi fantasy sense, where there's these like big elder gods that are out there, and those are sort of, fueling this existential, like there's a whole universe out there that we can't even comprehend or understand. And existentialism plays a good part in that. Definitely some of the games that fall into the cosmic horror genre is things like Darkest Dungeon or Bloodborne, or I haven't really seen a lot of Lies of P, but I think it kind of falls in there.
Hollow Knight, definitely.
Really? Why?
Because there's a big god that that is like poisoning everybody. I think, and like the way like the unknown reason that it's creating a bunch of children, and the sickness that comes inherent with this god that is over everybody, and like how it drives people mad. I feel like being driven mad by something that is so much bigger than yourself, like in Hollow Knight, is pretty emblematic of that genre. Right?
Yeah.
When I asked... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
When I asked ChatGPT to explain cosmic horror to me prior to coming on the show.
Oh my God. We've lost. We're done with, we're just going to have ChatGPT. We're going to set up 3 ChatGPTs to talk to each other, and we'll do an AI chat box to do the voices. And then that'll be our podcast.
It'd probably do really well too.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
No, but when I asked, because I feel like it's good for surface level definitions, Dempsey, madness and despair were one of the criteria. So that does make sense to me.
And Dempsey, your example of Hollow Knight's I think really interesting, because I think it's a game that doesn't play its like horror or existential, its cosmic or existential horror like on its sleeves. Like I think once you sort of understand like the lore and everything that's going on in Hollow Knight, you're kind of like, wow, yeah, that's messed up. Like that's just...
Yeah, I credit that analysis to Mossbag.
Yeah. All of my Bloodborne analysis goes to Vadi Video, so it's okay.
There you go. When you were describing cosmic horror, Seth, it made me think of Paradise Killer. Have either of you played that one? I know we've talked about it before.
We have videos on our TikTok about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Paradise Killer is a futuristic sort of sci-fi sort of mystery where you are on this island, and these people live for millennia, basically, and they are trying to create this perfect island. And every time they make the island, they are trying to appease some sort of cosmic gods that are either like demons or aliens. We don't really know what they are exactly, but they sacrifice like mortal humans to appease them in order to create this like paradise. And of course it doesn't work. And that's where we come into the story that we're trying to solve this murder. But it really was, I never realized that it was a horror in that way. Because when you play it, it doesn't seem scary at all, but it is horrible, like the way that they are with each other and with humans and stuff. But it really is that like these sort of cosmic deities of some kind are the reason that they're doing all this horrible shit. So really.
Yeah, and I think one of the really key aspects of the genre is the sort of slow understanding that something's not right. I'm a FromSoft simp, so like Bloodborne plays into this really well, I think, because as you sort of play through Bloodborne, it starts off with, I think, a really interesting genre of games for itself. It starts off with this like Victorian beast hunt, the idea of like going out on the hunt. And it runs that idea as a sort of like, oh, but it's actually like an endless night. So like the hunt has just been ongoing. And there's some connection here to like blood and vampires. And it really interesting runs on that theming. But then as the game goes on, you're like, oh, this seems kind of weird. Like something's not right here. Like all these pieces don't add up. And as you continue to play Bloodborne, you sort of make the slow realization that like, oh, there's like elder gods like messing around with everything, and everything's not right and everything's messed up. And to me, that's a pretty fundamental sort of component of the genre. But I just want to... Bloodborne's certainly one of my favorite games in the genre. Darkest Dungeon's another one. But I just wanted to just make a quick go around. If you had to think about like a favorite game of yours in the genre, like what is it and what sort of like makes it your favorite?
Would you consider Stanley Parable existential horror? I would consider the narrator a type of god, and the point of that game is to poke fun at the choice of video games and like your agency in the context of this greater being is kind of what that game is about. Right.
And you know what? There's some endings to the Stanley Parable that I think play into that. There's some like self-conscious endings where like the narrator is like, holy cow, we're stuck here. And there's an ending in the Stanley Parable 2 where the narrator is like,
don't spoil it. I'm taking my headphones off.
Okay. Well, I don't have to talk about it then. Katie, are you going to play the Stanley Parable? Oh, I said, are you going to play the Stanley Parable?
Yes, I haven't played it yet.
Well, I just won't talk about it then.
No. Well, I didn't want you to not be able to talk about it.
No, it's fine.
You're
Dempsey,
good.
come back.
Dempsey took his headset off
I'm just
too. We're
not
like,
going to
no
talk about it
spoilers.
because neither of you guys have played it.
I'm sorry.
But there's a few
It's on my
endings in the
list.
Stanley Parable too that play into it too. So
Okay.
sorry, I
That's
forgot that like both
interesting.
of you guys were gonna
Thinking
play it.
about-
I own it. I own it. That's the thing.
I think I own it. Have I bought it yet? I have Papers, Please. I don't think I have Stanley Parable yet.
I don't know if Papers, Please counts as existential horror. It's just sad.
I don't know why I think Papers, Please and Stanley Parable are like almost the same. I think it's just the
Not
names
at all.
sound
Two
similar to me.
entirely different games.
That's all.
Also, not made by the same people either.
No.
Oh, okay. It's really interesting though, thinking about games like that. I never thought about, like, when you think of a horror game, you're like, it's pretty cut and dried what it is.
Mhm.
But when you expand that definition, a lot of games actually end up fitting into that category.
Yeah, and even I wanted to take, and Katie, I know you haven't had an opportunity to pick out a game yet, but I also want to extend the conversation today a little bit to, I guess, like non-traditional horror. Kind of like when we had talked about, like comfy games that people don't usually consider to be comfy games. I do also want to see if we can have like a framework for horror, non-horror games, if you know what I mean.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
I think it's going to require a little bit of thought, but
Yeah.
but at least on the topic of like straight existential cosmic horror games, like Katie, did you have an idea about like a game you like that might fall into that?
Well, I know I've talked about it a few times now in our horror discussion, just because I do have a somewhat limited framework. But Soma, I feel like, really does fall into that, because even though there are straight up horror elements where you have a monster that's chasing you and it's terrifying, that's not all the time. And that's not even most of the time. It's only on specific areas of the game. The rest of the time, you really are left realizing, like, how insignificant is my life if I can continue on as a robot? And if I'm a copy of somebody, but I'm what's left, then does that copy that died matter? Like, does that person's existence even have a value anymore? Like, it's really disconcerting to try to think about, like, what is it about living that makes it more than just existence? And yeah, it is really unsettling the way that it handles that conversation. And it's been really good.
Yeah, unsettling's I think a good word for the genre.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's hard. It's probably why it doesn't hit as much sort of like mainstream appeal. It's hard to do unsettling without it being, I don't know, more upfront. Like
overt.
Yeah. And because often to me, it feels like the existential or cosmic horror, it's a very slow genre because you have to build a lot of atmosphere, and there's not usually a ton of payoff, or at least in an obvious way. Because you really need to hit that like unsettling. Now, and people have tried to adapt Lovecraft stuff over time. I just don't think it usually goes much of anywhere.
Yeah, I try to play the Call of Cthulhu, which is a video game.
Mm-hmm.
I think I spent like half an hour playing it and could not get into it. I should have played that. That would have been appropriate for this episode.
Well. Just to make a mention of, and I sort of briefly touched on them, but just to make a mention of some more of my favorite games in the genre. So you have like Darkest Dungeon, who I'm a notorious Darkest Dungeon enjoyer, and Dempsey's a notorious Darkest Dungeon hater.
Bad game.
Wrong take. Darkest Dungeon's a game that plays up the existential cosmic horror just like straight on its sleeves. It's a game about like cosmic horror. It's a game about like the insignificance of like, your characters, and like the fact that like the gameplay loop is built around the insignificance of your characters, which is something I think is very interesting. They are means to an end in that game. Another game that I mentioned already is Bloodborne. Bloodborne is one of FromSoft's games. They also make the Dark Souls games. And it starts off as like a Victorian style beast hunt and eventually turns into like cosmic horror, fight elder gods who are influencing the modern world and all the problems that they cause. Fantastic game. But even then I was like struggling to come up with some other stuff. I think I don't know if it's an underexplored genre, as what I was saying earlier. I think it's a hard genre to like really hit people with and have them like really get what's going on. Because
do you think that? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean I just.
Do you think that roguelikes are kind of like well tuned for that? Because I feel like.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead. That's my question. Go for it.
No, because I just played a game and every week I'm like, oh my God, I had this incredible experience with this game. I need to talk about it. And I just hate the game so much that I don't want to talk about it. It's the bullet hell game that was a PS5 exclusive that you don't like. Oh my God.
Immortal?
No.
Returnal?
Yes, yeah, Returnal.
Also good existential game.
Returnal is like prototypical. So do you want me to, I'm never going to play it. Can I spoil Returnal?
Yeah, 100%.
So Returnal has one of the best twists in any video game I've ever played in my life. And spoilers for Returnal. I do not think it's worth playing. I think the idea of this twist is better than the experience of playing the game. But basically so she figures out, the story is you figure out that each time you die, you come back to this planet, right? And you're stuck on this planet and you're trying to get help. You're trying to get off this planet. You're like going through the jungles of this planet. And each time a monster kills you, you die. Mm-hmm. And then you escape and you go back to Earth a hero. And you like marry and you have kids and you have grandkids and you die of natural causes and you wake
back on the planet.
You wake right back up on the planet.
Ooh.
because you didn't stop the time loop. You just kept living. God. But that doesn't mean that you're free of the time loop. And
that's awful.
And there's a difficulty spike after that makes the game unplayable for me.
The game continues?
Yeah. That's like maybe, yeah. And then there's more after that.
Oh my God.
That's like, I think that's about midway through the game is you have this like awesome ending. You go back to Earth and and then you figure out that you still haven't escaped the loop. And so even though you live like a full life,
that is awful.
Yeah. It's so terrifying.
Wow.
Like one of the best twists in video games ever, connected to one of the worst games I've ever played. If you are better at video games, you will love this game, but okay. I just could not be bothered.
Have you guys played Oxenfree?
No.
Okay, I won't talk about it.
I have it downloaded though.
You, Dempsey, Oxenfree is 100% your jam, and I won't talk about it because I don't want to spoil it, but just think about this when you play it. That's all.
So I am a space enthusiast. Like
me too.
Fair enough.
And I think a lot of space content, like a lot of space sci-fi, turns into existentialism because like in the 1930s, when we figured out that the stars weren't 100 miles away or whatever Hubble did for us, like when we're like, oh no, like the universe is like big,
really big.
Because all through, definitely like in the 1800s, we just thought the stars were like, you know, like 100 miles away from us, and like if we could take a rocket to them, okay, like yeah, and so like we had no concept like how big the cosmos were, and I think a lot of like really classic existential horror comes like in synchronous with those scientific findings.
That's interesting.
And I think sci-fi kind of like even current sci-fi really continues that tradition of using the vastness of space as a form of horror. And I think that's interesting because I think for me, the difference between cosmic horror and existential horror is cosmic horror, there is a being behind your suffering, and existential horror, there is no being behind your suffering. So like cosmic horror is with like elder gods or gods of some kind that control your faith but are beyond your, or control your fate but are beyond your comprehension. And I would say like existential horror a lot of times, or how I see it anyways, like existential horror is more like being stuck in a place of existence that you cannot escape from somehow.
Yeah, my thought is I wonder if there's some sort of like 20th century connection between and this is outside of the scope of a video game podcast, but on the topic of existential horror. I wonder if there's some connection between like existential horror like developing as a genre and Dempsey, like what you're saying for like the science at the time, but also like the start of postmodernism.
Yeah, definitely.
And all of that stuff is happening around like World War One and like the Great Depression, like fundamental, and the Industrial Revolution, like fundamental changes in how society views itself and like what it does and how it works. And like war and economics are changing, and like probably all of that is piling into like existentialism and existential horror, and eventually like cosmic horror comes out of that. And
you guys are making me look up a lot of things. I've now looked up existentialism and postmodernism. So postmodernism, according to Wiki, says that it is characterized by skepticism towards the grand narratives of modernism, rejection of scientific certainty or the stability of meaning, and sensitivity to the role of ideology in maintaining political power. So does that mean like not believing like that science knows everything?
So we have so imagine you.
So I will keep in mind we're also a video game podcast. So
yes, I know, but this is valid. This is relevant.
Imagine you are a religious person in like the 1700s, right?
Okay.
And you get your meaning from religion.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then you have modernism that's like, no, we actually are rational beings and we get our meaning from science. And then postmodernism is like, well, we only can measure things that we can see, and so we're still reliant on our senses, and we have to be critical of our own senses, and so we can no longer find meaning in science. So postmodernism is like when Einstein disproved Newton. That was a big like, oh, we actually don't know how the world works.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so it's less like not trusting science and just believing that the true nature of the universe will always be unknowable to us. And so that's not a place to derive certainty or meaning from.
Okay.
So
that
like
makes
in
sense.
so like people tried to replace religion with science, and then this is like post like a reaction to being like, actually that doesn't work either.
No wonder everyone has anxiety disorders.
It's fine. And so that's at least how I understand that, like the really broad strokes of those philosophical movements.
I wonder, as you were talking, Seth, about like scientific advancements and stuff, I wonder if the rise of like existential horror as a genre is also related to like social media, that as we see more, like we get more and more input from more and more people around the world, whether it's accurate or not, that we realize like how like we're a drop in the ocean in the vast seas of people in the world. And you realize that like when you can actively compare yourself to other people in the world that are maybe in really different life situations or different areas of the world doing different things, like you can realize like, oh, like what I'm doing is actually pretty small. Whereas before you would never have had that context.
Yeah, I think and unfortunately I don't consume a lot of like modern sci-fi, so I can't make too many comments on that. But I think something even very popular like The Matrix, if it was framed differently, like I think The Matrix could have been a like existential horror kind of film. It's about
I think it is, right? Like famously, it's an existential horror.
I don't know if I would frame it like that, but I'm
going to Google it.
You're the film guy, so you tell me. But on the topic, sorry, just because I remember Dempsey mentioned it earlier, on the topic of Hubble, just because you got to let my science teacher brain make a comment. I teach about this every year, and it's one of my favorite things to teach about because I don't think students understand don't fully grasp what I'm saying. But I like to tell them that Hubble pretty much over the course of a single night expanded the size of the universe from the Milky Way to infinitely large. And that's like really terrifying. And of course, it's not literally like overnight, but it's insane to think that there was one guy who was like, oh, like the universe is a lot bigger than we think it is. And then he was like, oh, like that's a lot
Really
bigger
bigger
than we thought it was.
That's so interesting.
That's scary.
It is scary.
I think it's scary.
The Hubble Deep Field is a fantastic, famous astronomy picture where the Hubble telescope pointed at a dark patch of sky, and they just kind of let it sit there on a long form exposure. And turns out when they looked at the image later, it's full of these wonderful specks of light, even on a very dark part of the sky. And then on further inspection, each of those little specks of light is an entire galaxy, the same size as our Milky Way.
Holy
which
crap.
means there's a whole lot of universe, even in the darkest parts of the sky, which is pretty cool.
That does freak me the fuck out. It does. It does. I feel like when I started seeing stuff like, and I haven't looked into it too much because I would rather be ignorant, and I know that's not great, but I would rather not know. But like when all this stuff started coming out about like aliens and stuff recently in the last few years, I was like, no, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
It's all fake. You can know. There's nothing there.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Listen. This is what I tell my students this all the time because my students are always
tell me, science teacher, because I have willfully not looked into it.
Okay,
because this freaks me out.
Here's the thing: and this is 100%, why aliens aren't real.
Okay,
if you show up with definitive proof, peer-reviewed scientific proof, that there are aliens out there, you will be, without a doubt, the most famous person in history. You will rival Jesus as the most famous. And listen, you might be more famous than Jesus. Like, we're talking like that level of recognition. And your name is going to be recognized through the rest of history. So, like, you want to be the person who makes the announcement that there's aliens. Nobody's hiding that. It is fame and recognition that extends vastly beyond your lifetime into probably the rest of human history. So, like, there's no aliens because somebody would have said something.
But didn't like the, I don't know, Department of Defense or something come out and like...
They said that their airplanes have bad cameras that get specks of dust on the lens sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, I'm going to look this up because I feel like I saw something and I thought it was...
There are no aliens.
Okay. All right. Maybe that's my ditzy moment. I don't know. But it freaks me out. I don't want there to be aliens.
Vague piece of evidence that we have that there could possibly be aliens is something called, we're totally off topic now, but that's okay. There's not that much to talk about today anyway. I think we're all just kind of like, the one good piece of evidence for aliens we have is something called the WOW signal. It's a single radio wave transmission that we got from, I forget which constellation. And it's, as far as we can tell, the only way that radio source would have been produced is by like an artificial source. It's not the kind of radio waves that come from natural sources. More likely than not, it's just a radio wave from Earth that like bounced off,
Bounce back.
some dust somewhere, and then happened to bounce back in the right direction. But it could be aliens.
Okay.
It was from
all right.
1977.
Yeah, and that's
Okay.
it.
That makes me feel better because you guys, I probably, especially Seth, but probably Dempsey, you too probably are way more savvy with all of this.
I do
science
teach
stuff.
an entire unit in my
So-
classes about this.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad. Thank you. You have comforted me
You're welcome.
in my hour of existential dread because I worry about that. I'm like, oh my God, if there really are aliens, I don't want to know because it's just too scary to think
but
about.
see, now we're going full circle. This is the existential like horror idea, right? Like if there are
is.
aliens out there, like that
hate
means
it.
something, and what that thing means is scary, and we don't want to have to think about that. And I think that's a lot of what like the existential horror hits is like forcing you to think about the things you don't want to have to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a psychic uncomfortableness like that just don't
Makes you
wanna
take psychic
deal with.
damage.
Yes, exactly.
I'm thinking of like other types of like hive minds is an existential horror trope, right? Would you consider,
Yeah,
like-
I would say so.
Like I feel like loss of individuality or loss of autonomy is a big one. Like loss of self to groupthink and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean that feels like it's I don't know, would you consider like 1984 to be like cosmic horror or like existential horror?
I think existential horror. I would not say cosmic horror.
No, yeah, not cosmic, existential.
I just watched with my students, we did The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, which is a teleplay for The Twilight Zone.
Oh yeah.
I gotta watch more
And-
Twilight Zone.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
good.
it was so good. We read it as like a reader's theater and then we watched the show afterwards. And it was so interesting because in that story, like the aliens are basically like playing tricks on the people in this neighborhood to get them to fight each other and to lose, like to kind of lose their connection with each other and get into that like mob mentality. And I think it really was, especially, I mean, this was in the 50s, I think that this one came out. And even so many years on, like the themes really hit with that feeling of like loss of trust in each other and loss of like almost faith in yourself as well, like that you would be able to tell that somebody was or wasn't a real person. It was really unsettling.
It's it's fantastic. I was gonna say Black Mirror is also very existential. I think the Twilight Zone as like every single, literally I've seen like a lot of Twilight Zone, and every single one of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes are wildly existential. Like there's one where this woman realizes that she's a mannequin. There's one where people are stuck together.
I just don't like the idea of that.
There's one where people are stuck together and they're wondering why they're dressed up for Halloween, but it ends up being they're actually toys and they're just the type of toy that they are. So there's like a ballerina, an astronaut, a fireman, and they can't figure out why they're dressed like that. And then it turns out that they're toys in a donation bin. Yeah.
It's like, it's the question of, am I a real person?
I think video games are really good at this because video games are all about agency. And so like, for example, like with existential philosophy, I've known about that for a long time, but I've never understood it until I played a video game about it. And that video game was Outer Wilds. Like I legit like never internalized the themes of like why people cared so much about philosophy, maybe in general, until I played that video game. And then I was like, oh, there is like, we need desperately to create meaning or else it's very scary to be a person.
Aren't you like a
So
filmmaker by trade? Isn't that like what you do?
I was thinking of BioShock.
Yeah.
Have you everyone's played it?
At least a little bit.
Can we have spoilers on a game that's come out in 2007?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then I won't spoil it, but there is a part where things take a turn and you're left wondering, like, am I even a real person? And it is a very unsettling moment that really stuck with me, because you feel like you're doing all of these things yourself, and then things are not always what they seem.
Yeah. Okay. So I just 100%. I love BioShock. I think the mechanics are a little archaic at this point, but it's a very fun game to play. On like real, like the idea of like thinking you might not be a real person. I just got done reading Turtles All the Way Down.
I should read that.
Which is a book. It's so good. It's a book about this young woman. She's a teenager, and she's convinced she's not a real person. Or she's convinced that she's a fictional character, and that she is being controlled by the bacteria that lives inside of her. So like she gets obsessed with like the microbiome of the gut, and like starts like learning about how like, oh, like your gut and your brain have a link. And so like she basically develops this anxiety around bacteria because she's worried that bacteria is controlling her. It's very good.
I just need to
It's called Turtles All the Way Down.
mention that it's a John Green book.
It is a John Green book.
Oh, interesting.
Very angsty.
And I have a copy of the Anthropocene reviewed on my...
I just recently listened to something. It was on LeVar Burton Reads, and I can't remember what it's called right now, but if it comes to me,
LeVar Burton
I'll
has a
tell you.
series where he reads books.
Oh my God, yes. It's a podcast, and there's 170 episodes, and it's great. But I just listened to one where a girl ends up, it's in the future somehow, and her grandma is going to die, or has died, but before she died, they copied her into I can't remember what they call it, but it's basically like a robot body.
Sure.
And the little girl is like, "You're not my grandma." And the lady's like, "Yeah, I'm your grandma." The robot lady. But then like grandma can be turned off when grandpa doesn't want to deal with her, and gets powered down and stuff, right? So the girl's like, "I know you're not my grandma." But she's got all of this like angst against her because the girl had like a medical condition, and they put in like these nanobots to help her with this medical condition, and it healed her, so she would have died. But now, like if she gets cut, the nanobots heal her before she can even feel it almost. And she starts having all of this anxiety about like what happens. She's like, "I thought about cutting off my hand just to see if the nanobots would get to it first, before it's too late. And what happens if I can't, if the nanobots can heal me before I even feel that I'm hurt, what are they doing to like my organs? Am I going to live forever? And if I'm going to live forever, who's going to be with me?" She's like 11, right? And so she's got all of this displaced like angst against her grandma, who is a robot, because now her grandma's going to live forever in this robot form. And she's like, "But you're not you. Am I still me?" It's so good.
I have a very unhealthy hypothetical.
Okay.
Eternal life. Good, bad? How do you feel about that?
Okay. I think people usually frame conversations about eternal life in terms of the like, yeah, but you're going to be there at like the end of the universe. Fucking, yeah. End?
You're going to go insane first is what you're going to do.
Yeah. Like I get to live for I get to experience the rest of human history. But then, like, I don't know, I'm just going to go, like, crazy and insane at the end of it. Who cares? I got to live through, like, the rest of human history.
Is that how you feel about it?
Yeah.
You feel like you'd be fine because you'd live through the rest of human history?
Yeah. Imagine all the cool shit you're going to get to see.
That's true. What a good attitude.
Katie, how do you feel about eternal life? Would you take it?
We were just talking about this in 9th grade English about how we read this. I can't remember what it was now. I think it was just a synopsis, actually, as part of like learning about theme. And this scenario was this family drinks from a spring of immortality. And the themes that we get from this story are basically like, does life have meaning if there's no death? Like, do growth and progress mean anything if you have infinite time? And I'm like, no, I think it's a good thing to know that there's an end, because it helps you not to take things for granted. And I think that if there was never an end, you would feel a little bit, there would be that question of like, what's the point?
Hard to disagree.
I 100% would take eternal life. Like, no
Would you?
questions. Yeah. I think about this a lot, because I think, like most people, you think about what it's like to die, and you think about like the idea of non-existence, and that gives me a lot of anxiety. I think and I think I do not think death gives life meaning. I think that because I don't think someone's life is more or less meaningful depending on when they die, or like necessarily how they die, or like the situation around their death. Like, I don't think a 5-year-old has to pack more meaning into their life somehow. And like, I guess, like, I just don't think that like knowing that something will end necessarily makes it more meaningful. I think that like there's things that I think I would be happy to experience an infinite number of times. Like, and I do not know.
I think, so go ahead.
No, go.
I feel like, I just think about like in the game Paradise Killer, they do live for basically functionally forever. And I think that the opportunity for avarice to become like the meaning of existence is really, it would be really easy thing to fall into. That, like you said, experiencing something for infinite times, like becoming greedy for something to the point that like, because you know you're not going to die and you can have like this thing infinite. I'm not speaking well, but like in the Paradise Killer, they are so bored with their existence that they are seeking a higher fulfillment by creating this perfect island and sacrificing anybody that they have to in order to get to that point. And I think if you live forever, the significance of other people's lives becomes smaller because you see them come and go while you just continue on.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that trope specifically is played into, and I think just about every piece of fiction that deals with like eternal life. It's just like, okay, you live forever, but like everyone around you doesn't. So like, what are you going to do now? Plenty to talk about, but we are at the end of our time.
Yeah.
And I need to run to the grocery store before it closes tonight.
Okay.
So,
I did remember the story, and it's called Small Medicine by Genevieve Valentine. And it's extremely good. It's on me too. It's on LeVar Burton Reads from his 2019 series, and it's extremely good.
Cool. Anyway, I think that just about wraps us up for today. I'm really bad at the closing bit, so Katie or Dempsey, you wanna give the whole rundown?
Thanks for listening. This has been Overthinking Games. You can find us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on TikTok and YouTube for like our interviews and stuff. If you want to shoot us a message, we're at overthinkinggamespodcast@gmail.com. If you want to tell us what you think, what kind of games are full of existential horror for you, or ideas of what we should talk about next, let us know. And we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Send me vegetarian options.